42. The surveillance world, when privacy became the price of convenience. The prediction, what we thought. As the 20th century closed, a darker future ran alongside technological optimism. Society would drift into permanent surveillance. Governments would monitor citizens continuously. Corporations would track behavior invisibly. Cameras, databases, and networks would merge into a system that watched by default rather than exception. Privacy, once assumed, would become conditional or nostalgic. In this future, surveillance wouldn't arrive with jackboots. It would arrive with efficiency. Standing in 1999, this prediction felt unsettling but abstract. Surveillance existed, but it was clumsy, expensive, and limited. Total visibility still sounded like dystopian fiction. Why this prediction made sense in 1999? The warning emerged at a moment when digital traces were just beginning to accumulate. In 1999, the internet was spreading rapidly. Databases were becoming searchable. CCTV cameras were increasing in cities. Identification systems were digitizing. At the same time, people were volunteering more information than ever. Emails, early social profiles, online purchases, often without realizing it was permanent. The fear wasn't a single technology, it was convergence. Once data collection, storage, and analysis combined, surveillance would stop being episodic and become ambient. This concern fit the millennium-era tension perfectly. Optimism about connection paired with anxiety about control. The same systems that promised convenience also threatened oversight. For younger readers today, it's important to remember that privacy was still assumed by default in 1999. Being untracked was normal. Being watched required justification. That assumption was about to flip. Who said it, and where? One of the clearest early articulations of this future came from Reg Whittaker, particularly in his 1999 book The End of Privacy. Whittaker argued that surveillance was shifting from targeted observation to systemic monitoring. Control would be exercised not through force but through data, quietly, continuously, and often invisibly. Crucially, he emphasized that surveillance wouldn't just be imposed by states. It would be co-produced by citizens through everyday participation in digital life. At the time, this sounded cautious. In hindsight, it sounds prophetic. What actually happened 2000 to 2025? The surveillance world arrived, incrementally, then completely. Over the next 2 decades, cameras multiplied in public and private spaces. Smartphones tracked location continuously. Online behavior became logged, analyzed, and monetized. Governments expanded digital monitoring powers. Surveillance stopped being exceptional. It became infrastructure. By the 2010s and 2020s, daily life generated constant data exhaust. Movements, purchases, communications, preferences, all captured somewhere. Not always maliciously. Often for convenience, safety, or personalization. Importantly, surveillance became normalized. People traded privacy for services without formal negotiation. Opting out became difficult. Visibility became the default state. By 2025, total surveillance wasn't total in the sense of a single watcher, but total in coverage. Many systems watched a little. Together, they watched almost everything. Verdict, status, realized. A pervasive surveillance environment now exists. While not always centralized or explicitly authoritarian, modern societies operate under continuous data collection by states, corporations, and platforms. Privacy is no longer assumed. It is negotiated, limited, or absent. Why it played out this way? The central insight of the prediction was that surveillance scales with convenience. People didn't resist being tracked because tracking made life easier. Maps, recommendations, security, personalization, each benefit justified a little more visibility. There was also fragmentation. No single entity needed total control. Surveillance emerged through overlapping systems with different incentives, creating comprehensive coverage without a master plan. Finally, regulation lagged capability. Laws moved slowly. Technology moved fast. By the time rules appeared, the infrastructure was already embedded. The future didn't impose surveillance, it normalized it. What this prediction teaches us about the future. This case highlights a sobering lesson. The most powerful systems are the ones people consent to without noticing. Surveillance didn't arrive through conquest. It arrived through convenience, efficiency, and habit. Once embedded, it became hard to imagine life without it. In 1999, the surveillance state sounded dystopian. In 2026, it feels mundane. The future delivered oversight, not with force, but with terms of service. One sentence takeaway. We didn't lose privacy overnight, we traded it away one convenience at a time.